Science, Technology and Innovation Policy. As you all know, Atmanirbhar Bharat, promoting traditional knowledge systems, developing indigenous technologies, and encouraging grassroots innovation is a necessity for the development of our nation. And it is not because of the pandemic and so on, but the pandemic and so on has actually proved that it is important that we have to develop ourselves in this area. The new STIP intends to implement profound changes to develop a robust system and policy governance. For this, we have a towering personality among us. You've been hearing him for quite some time now. He just gave a preview of what he's going to present. Dr. Akhilesh Gupta, sir, welcome. And without much delay, let's move on to the formal session. May I invite Deepak Dhadke, President, Science India Forum, Qatar, for the welcome address. Deepak ji.
Dignitaries, academicians, industry experts, thought leaders, and professionals. Warm greetings and very good morning to you all. First of all, I thank you, each one of you, for accepting our invitation and attending this meeting. On behalf of Science India Forum GCC chapters, I am immensely delighted to welcome you all to this exclusive meeting on new science, technology, and innovation policy. Under the guidance of Vigyan Bharati, we have expanded our activity as science diplomacy. Apart from various educational activities, Science India Forum has been at forefront in promoting premier Indian science events in Gulf region like Vaibhav Summit, India International Science Festival, etc. Recently, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India released the draft of Fifth National Science, Technology and Innovation Policy for public consultation. New Science, Technology and Innovation Policy, STIP, emphasizes on the concept of making India a self-reliant, that is Atmanirbhar Bharat. Science India Forum took this mission and reached out to the Indian diaspora in GCC countries for their contribution in this draft policy. Today, meeting is to have an insight into the STIP, and we are indeed privileged to have with us Dr. Akhilesh Gupta ji, Advisor and Head, STIP 2020, Secretariat, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, who can authoritatively explain and clarify on STIP. On behalf of Science India Forum and all present here, I take this opportunity to extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Akhilesh Gupta ji. Thank you so much, sir, for taking your time from your busy schedule and accepting our invitation. It is my honor to welcome Sri Jayanji Sahasrabuddhe, National Organizing Secretary, Vigyan Bharati. Thank you, Jayanji, for your kind support and gracious presence. I also welcome Sri Abgaji, SIF Organizing Secretary of Middle East countries. And I truly express my gratitude to you all and recognize the presence of all supportive school principals, vice principals, distinguished community leaders, prominent personalities, scientists, researchers, doctors, chartered accountants, engineers, technocrats, and esteemed members of Science India Forum. Everyone here is an important stakeholder in this policy, and your contribution is highly appreciated. Please send your valuable inputs and suggestions, comments to official email ID of DST. Thank you and welcome once again.
Thank you very much, Deepak ji. May I now invite Mr. Subhash Nair, President, Science India Forum Dubai chapter, to for telling a little bit about Science India Forum.
Good morning and namaste, everyone. I hope I'm audible, Sajid ji.
Yes, very
All
much.
Right. Okay. Good morning and namaste, everyone. It is without any doubt that India as a nation is on the path of development, and the rapid strides in which we need to develop our nation should come from science and technology. It has to be in conjunction with our Indian heritage and also with the talented diaspora we have, not only in our country, but also outside the country. With this in context, Vigyan Bharati started many years back as a science movement, as a nationalistic science movement, to have the spirit of science and Swadeshi together. Now, if you come back, we are part, Science India Forum in GCC is a part of the Vigyan Bharati, mainly with three major visions. One of the major vision is that national renaissance through intervention of science and technology. We want to propagate amongst the newer generation the value of India's rich heritage in field of science and technology, and also to motivate the generation to take up science, pure science, as a career and contribute to the development of India. To achieve this, we are spread across GCC from Oman to Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We are a group of very motivated, committed professionals from various walks of professions and career, and we all come together for this noble cause. The different activities that we conduct in Science India Forum in different regions of GCC are as follows. Our flagship program is called the Shastri Pratibha Contest, which is a national level science contest wherein we try to pool in scientific talents across different schools in Indian curriculum and then pick talented students and expose them to the various institutions and departments we have back in India. This contest is now in its digital form in different countries, and we have successfully conducted across different regions. Followed by Shastra Pratibha, we have another flagship program called the National Children's Science Congress, which is in conjunction with what happens in India, national level science congress. We conduct and we select students from this region to participate in the national level. Apart from this, we have a lot of other programs that is to promote science and technology and connect students back to India, which include knowledge fair, interaction with scientists, National Science Day celebration, National Technological Day celebration, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam birthday celebration, JC Bose birthday celebration, Vigyana Bharati Foundation celebration, and Shastra Pratibha study tour to research laboratories. We connect the scientists from India to the students and technocrats of our region to discuss about various issues back in our country and also how to bring in both the communities together. Having said that, I also wanted to highlight that we also conducted the International Ayush Conference and exhibition in Dubai back in 2017, which was attended by 20,000 visitors and a lot of scientists and doctors from different regions. Having said this, we all continue to put our best effort in spite of our time and energy to bring in this noble cause into the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Subhashi. Now, may I invite Mr. Prashant Dharmaraj, Secretary, Science India Forum Bahrain, to introduce our guest today.
Namaste all. Am I audible?
Yes, Prashantji.
It's my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker today, Dr. Akhilesh Gupta. He obtained his MSc degree in physics from Lucknow University and PhD degree in atmospheric sciences from IIT Delhi. He worked in India Meteorological Department, National Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting and Disaster Management called of DST during 1985 up to 2007 in various capacities. Dr. Gupta was Secretary, University Grants Commission, UGC during 2012 and 13. Currently, he is heading Climate Change Program, CCP of DST, coordinating two national missions on climate change under National Action Plan on Climate Change. Dr. Gupta was published over 200 research papers in various national and international journals and proceedings of conference. He is an editor of 5 books, author of over 200 articles and nearly 300 reports. Dr. Gupta was a member of National Coordination Team which drafted India's National Action Plan on Climate Change in 2008. Dr. Gupta is a fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering (INAE) and fellow of Indian Meteorological Society. He was awarded D.Litt. Honor Kosa by Jagadguru Rembhadracharya Handicraft 2013. Dr. Gupta is currently leading Science, Technology and Innovation Policy called STIP 2020 SIF GCC. With great pleasure, let me invite Dr. Akhilesh Gupta for the keynote speech. Sir, please.
Thank you so much for your introduction. Dr. Agga, who has in fact been coordinating my participation in this. Very good morning to all the members of Science India Forum in all GCC countries, Saudi, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, and Oman. Truly a privilege for me to participate in this interaction meeting. And thank you so much for inviting respected Dr. Mr. Ajay Sahaj Gudderi, who has been giving direction to this policy formulation and consultation process. And so very honored to be part of this, and I'm very happy that he is guiding us in a quick way to take this forward. This presentation which I am going to make will give you some broad recommendation that the draft of HIT Science, Technology, Innovation Policy has brought out. So my presentation will focus on the contextual referencing of the previous policies, then why India needs a new policy, what has been the formulation process and consultation, and what are the major recommendations and overall vision. India had 4 policies earlier to this after the independence. Each policy had was brought in the circumstances of that time, and therefore had different focus. When India got independence, there were scientific institutions in the country, but India did not have a policy of itself, and it needed to move forward in the science and technology and innovation area. Innovation was not the focus at that time. Even technology was not the focus at that time. Science needed to be fostered and promoted. And that's why in 1968, the first policy which came, that's called Scientific Policy Resolution, and this came a very unique way. This was written by Dr. Homi Bhabha, just one person, few pages of policy, and gave it to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister read it in the Parliament, and then they started rolling the implementation. Post this policy, several institutional mechanisms came. DRDO was set up in 1958. Department of Science and Technology was set up in 1971. The big take was the ISRO came into force in 1972, and so on. So this policy heralded so many action as part of the implementation. 1983 was again a unique kind of situation. India had the first Cochrane experiment, and entire world, mostly the Western world, denied India with the technology that were needed, especially the static technology that were needed. And as I said, 1972 was the ISRO formation, and ISRO was in the nascent stage. And similarly, the DAE and other strategic department. So this technology policy statement brought a direction for India to become self-reliant and technologically competent citizen. Then came 2003 policy, which focused on providing social connect with of science and technology. And also, for the first time, the innovation word had come in the policy, how innovation should be added to the science and technology. Then came the Science Technology Innovation Policy of 2013, where innovation was formally added to the science and technology. And this became this came at a time when the entire world was celebrating the decade of innovation, and so all these policies, as I said, are relevant at the time they were brought. Uh, there were some issues related to at least last two policies, and I would highlight these things when I come to more discussion. Uh, why do we need I mean, if you look at the policy 19 after 1958, 25 years after that, next policy came. 20 years after that, third policy came. And 10 years after that, the fourth policy came. Now, the last policy came 7 years ago. Why do we need a new policy now in 2021 or 20? That came because of several elections. See, the kind of growth path that science and technology and innovation was contributing to India had taken a big shift in last 6 or 7 years. We, in fact, if you look at this growth, was quite different from the growth that we had earlier. And this new policy is needed to capture this growth and also make it more rapid in the future. So time for incremental is gone. So we need to go for more profound work in the future, and that's why we need a new policy. Also, the COVID definitely added that. So in fact, when we started the policy formulation, that time COVID was not there. But when COVID came, the policy also has started aligning through its learning that we had and also through the priority that it has set in. Both were very important. And therefore, and when Honorable Prime Minister gave a clarion call for an Atmanirbhar Bharat, we realized that to have an Atmanirbhar Bharat, I think science and technology innovation can contribute immensely. And one way that can do very, I would say very visibly was, developing or focusing on technology indigenization and indigenous development of technology, and also the grassroots innovation. This way, what is the India's concern for the Atmanirbhar Bharat is that we have so much of technology import that we do. How do we cut down this technology import and create our own strength within? It does not mean we are compromising on collaboration. See, the people get confused that Atmanirbhar Bharat means we are not going to collaborate with the international economy. We are not doing that. Collaboration has been our strength, but how do we leverage internal strength of the country. We all have, and COVID has given us a good learning. How it has given a good learning, let me cite an example. Till, say, until April, May of last year, India was not manufacturing ventilators or PPE or diagnostic kits. All these were imported. In fact, the first kit, if you recall, came from China, the diagnostic kits. But suddenly, how come that in 6 months' time we have become manufacturer of all these things? Now we are manufacturing PP of our own, the diagnostic kit, ventilators, and rather exporting it. That shows that India has the basic strength. The problem was only one, that the connect between the R&D and the market was weak. And when COVID has, they all raced to the occasion, came together, industry started working with the R&D, academia started working with industry, and put together, they showed that India, who come together, can do a big change in this. So that has been the, this is a new learning that we had. Also, the kind of disruptive technology and innovative technology that are coming from globally, that is happening in terms of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, or machine learning, or quantum technology and all, these are going to make big changes in the country R&D, and they need to be given focus. And that's why this policy is going to have a much very focus on that. As I said, we had unprecedented progress in recent time in STI. And I would like to cite a few. See, India, a few years back, about a decade back, we were in 9th position in terms of number of publications. Now we progress well, and in the last 6 years or so, we have, say 2014, we are 5th position. Now we are in 3rd position in the world. 1.25 lakh publication per year in the SCI journal. Also, in terms of quality, India has been doing very poorly in this area, has improved a lot in last 5-6 years. Now we are in the 9th position. We are now in 3rd position in terms of PhDs, number of PhD students. Now this is very important. I would like to focus on this area because they are very important from countries' growth point of view. We produce 25,000 PhDs per year in science and engineering, as compared to 34,000 China and 39,000 US. How do we leverage them and get the advantage of them is an important thing. So their employability, they are going into the next level of teaching and research level, all are relevant. I'll talk later on this, but it's very important area. Also, we are 3rd in largest higher education system in the world. 1,000 universities, 3.2 lakh students, at the gross enrollment ratio of 25%, and so phenomenal changes have come in recent time in India. Startup is a new area where India made good progress. When Honorable Prime Minister gave a call in the beginning of his term in 2014 for a Startup India, at that time, there are only few startups in the country. Now we have 41,000 plus startups in the country. And 1/3 of them are the STI startup. They are doing excellent work and making big impact in terms of even creating the job. In fact, DST alone have created 70,000 more jobs because of startup, these startup. And so they are making a big impact, and this is a welcome move. And India, in fact, recently Prime Minister has announced and is another 1,000 crore seed money for the startup. I think these are all making big changes in the country. In fact, one good development took place that the number of unicorn in the country have grown up and up. Now we have 61 unicorn in the country, and they are actually contributing hugely to the economy of the country. Number of resident patents have also increased up, have gone up. The only issue is that we still have an issue problem with the patent law, and I am going to talk about what kind of changes patent law will need for for going improving the patent filing and also improving the global innovation index. And these things we are bringing out as part of the policy. We have improved a lot from 81st position to 48th rank in the in global innovation index. But this is another gray area. We need to become in top 10. How do we become top 10? We have mentioned in the policy how we achieve that. One good development was the women participation in the R&D. This has got double in last 6 years. We have now 56,000 women participating in R&D out of 3.42 lakh total researchers in the country, almost 16%. But this number is suboptimal. This must go to 30%. And that's why the clear direction from the policy coming, how we do it. So, a number of researchers also have gone up in the last 6 years, but I think we are still way behind the global global normal. I think our full-time equivalent research number is 260 or so per million population. This must go 2 times or 3 times in the next 5 years, and the policy talks about this as well. Now, what is the uniqueness of this policy which we have just now released for public consultation? Unlike all other policies that we had, which were largely top down, somebody created and then it is implemented downward. This policy is somewhat different. It is not the policy which is guide the scientists, for the scientists, or ask the scientists. It is a policy which we created is truly bottom up. People of all walks of social society have been included as a part of the formulation itself. And therefore, it's truly bottom up, inclusive, and decentralized in the sense that this is the first policy of the country which included 2 important stakeholders. One was the state government. No policy has the state government as stakeholder consultation process, formal consultation process took place. The second important stakeholder is the diaspora. No policy in the country has consulted diaspora. This is the only policy which has formally involved diaspora for giving them their ideas and all. That is the uniqueness of this policy. This is also expert driven. It's not totally bottom up. It is top down also, where the experts have formulated the draft and then that was discussed for the purpose. First policy to be evidence-based. All that you find in this policy are not a statement. They are not just like somebody's wisdom. They are based on the research that our team has undertaken. So it is all evidence. The entire policy was divided, formulation process was divided into 4 parts. Track 1, where we had extended public consultation Track 2, where we had expert-driven thematic group consultation. We set out 21 thematic group. Track 3 was a ministerial and state level consultation. And the track 4 was the FX level consultation. We have had range of stakeholders consulted for this policy formulation process, ranging from research students to scientists to government officials to university faculty. Also, we had women scientists separately consulted. As I mentioned that, Vigyan Bharati, we had 17 round of consultation with 1,200, Vigyan Bharati members. And this is the 18th one which I am, having participating here. And thought leaders, senior scientists. This is the first policy again where we consulted industry and took their views on how we reach out to the tribal people, knowledge institutions, grassroots level innovators, and diaspora, embassies. In fact, 30 embassies, 30 embassies of 30 countries in the world, they have been brought as a part of consultation and their suggestions and all. So this is a kind of, I think, we had 300 rounds of consultation, 9,000 people were consulted. In fact, I had one-on-one consultation with 9,000 people in last 6 months. Every day I had 2 or 3 meetings, you can imagine that the kind of, including when I was in fever, in several times in between I had fever, then I got no choice. I had to participate in these consultations with several thousand people. 34,000 people were consulted through various extension activities and other things. We had set up a quiz. 95,000 people participated in this quiz. And we received more than 1.25 lakh ideas and suggestions from various stakeholders, which were included and considered by the editorial committee for filing. This policy has been the largest, widest, quickest, and most intense exercise that has been ever done for any policy formulation in the country. First ever policy which has directly involved states and diaspora, well distributed participation in terms of the region, age, gender, education, economic status, and so. Women have been very prominently brought as a part of this policy formulation process. In fact, the editorial team itself, the formulation team has 40% women right from the beginning of formulation. We had young, but as well as older people into this policy. The youngest was 25-year-old person. The oldest was 85-year-old person consulted for this policy. This inclusiveness has been the mantra of formulation of this policy. This was the team, and you can look at this team that formulated, or that was the backbone of the supporting team which has helped formulating this policy. The average age of this team was 30 years. There was the average age of this team, and I'm the only odd man out. You can see, look at the team leader has been the only person who was older person compared to this. And this is like, another important thing you could see that more than 50% members of this team are women. So this is another inclusiveness that we brought as a part of this thing. So we look at the chronology of the entire process. Although Prime Minister had given us this go-ahead, rather he had desired us to prepare this policy in 2018, But then we actually, this whole thing started in December 2019 with the setting of the Apex Committee. And then, but then because of COVID, we could not take up. So actual formulation process started in May 2020. And by December 31st, we released this policy for consultation. So literally 6 to 7 months time, we did the entire work. And thanks to COVID, again, I will say it is all blessing in disguise. We could have 300 rounds of meeting in 6 months time. So you can just imagine every day we need to have 2 or 3 meetings with 9,000 people consulted one on one, and 34,000 people through the virtual mode is unimaginable for any policy. This is now I'm going to present the policy draft. There are 11 chapters in the policy draft, and they are on different areas. I think you will appreciate that this required a lot of work by us. And I had so many sleepless nights where, sitting on the draft and looking at every sentence and words and all things. First chapter is on open science. And this is a revolutionary idea that we have brought as a part of the policy, where we are proposing a national STI observatory, which will become central repository for all kind of research data output generated from the STI ecosystem. As a part of this STI authority, we are proposing a national level Indian Science and Technology Archive of Research, or we call INSTA. And this research archive will have everything that you can think of as outcome of the research. This is being the output. The input side also we have added that any researcher in the country does research must deposit its manuscript preprint level and the postprint level to this central portal. So it becomes a one-stop shop for everybody to visit and get it. Entire access will be free. The grand idea of one nation, one subscription is a unique idea that we have brought it. And this is going to be very path-breaking for the country. Where, right now, the government institution, they subscribe the journals, international journals and the national journal. So they had to pay the subscription fee of total, if you count, it comes to nearly 1,500 crore annually. But, if you look at the access, only the researcher in the institutions had the access. And people at the outside these institutions, they need to subscribe their own by paying the money. India has, as I said, more than 3.5 lakh researchers, full-time researchers. The access is not available to everybody. Anybody who wants to access has to pay for it. What we are proposing here is a centrally negotiated subscription for providing free access to every Indian citizen. This will become a path-breaking because then people will have free access to any journal of the world. This is, of course, being a lot of contests being done by the subscription journals publishers because they think it is a great loss to them. But I think this is a big idea that has come as a part of this policy. The capacity development is very important in the area of STI. We would like to set up, although there are research excellence, there are excellence framework already available in the higher education institution, especially university and all. But I think there are no distinct framework available for the research. We did some work on this. I think we know how it should be done. This is required, I think I'm going to come on this issue maybe later part, but let us understand the issue. We have 1,000 universities in the country. Our education level is quite good. We have a third largest education system, higher education system after US and China. But what about the excellence level at the university? This is an issue to address, and how we include the excellence level, not because of the education. Education is very good in the country, but the problem is that universities are weak in research and innovation. And therefore, we need to focus on that issue very, very thoroughly. Another area which is, and that is, I think, it came prior to this formal discussion, we had informal discussion, and this is very important. India's legacy in our research and science has been quite rich. And the involvement of society is very, very important. And if you see, most of the grassroots innovation have been for the benefit of the society. Research has been lagging in this area in the country. So we have given a concept of creating engaged university, where research in the interdisciplinary areas can be promoted which will have social science base in the country. I'm not going to elaborate, but you understand. I'm saying that how do we connect science to the society? Also, I think the R&D institutions and the universities lack innovation, and therefore we need to set up a center for innovation in the universities in the country, so that the research they work, and most of the research in the university in India are at very low technology readiness level. They work at 2 or 3 level of technology readiness. What we need is going up to 6 and 7 level, so that they can easily connect with the market, with the industry. That needed a very focusing. Also, the MSME have been a very important sector in the country. You know that India has nearly 63 million MSME, and in fact 97% of these 63 million are the small industry, micro enterprises. Now, these need a focus of connecting R&D to them. That is very important. R&D institutions and industry and the higher education institutions are not right now have connection to these MSME. I think, and another important thing is that these large number of these MSMEs are in the rural areas, and therefore they become the crucial bridge between the grassroots innovation and to the market. And that is the area that we have identified. R&D institutions and academic institutions, they are, there is a dilemma. This is called a dichotomy between these institutions. R&D institutions have all infrastructure, the brains, but have less manpower in terms of, in the research area. And also they don't have degree awarding authority. On the other hand, the academic institutions have all those things in place. They have students, they have degree awarding authority, but they do not have the right infrastructure of research. How do we create a convergence is the idea that we transform these R&D institutions into universities of excellence. I won't go into the more detail because this is a grand idea that is coming up. Also, the R&D infrastructure in the country is not evenly distributed in the universities and the R&D institution. This needed, there is an equitable distribution of, and this is all country, this is a taxpayer money that is there. So how do we create that? It's an idea about this thing. I'm not going to detail about this thing, and if somebody asks, I can answer those questions. STI funding has again, the research has been a central subject of the country, and the states do not have partnership into this. Also, that the line ministries have been away from any R&D and science and technology. I think there's a lot, when we are going to address the S&T, connecting S&T to the social sector, I think they need to create convergence with the line ministry as well as the state government. Uh, uh, and also the multinational companies in the country. We have large number of multinational companies, but they are not right now contributing to the national STI ecosystem. Why? Because they need an enabling mechanism. We need to bring MNCs working for the Indian STI ecosystem, and for that some kind of mechanism. Another very important that now we have been talking about increasing the gross expenditure on research and development to 2% of the GDP in the country. Right now, we are contributing to 0.6% of the GDP. Now, if you see this issue, somebody can argue that no, like, why not government contribute to 2% of the GDP? Government has limited resources, and nowhere in the world where the GDP contribution to DRD is 2% or more is contributed by government. It is largely contributed by the industry, private sector. Here's the direction that we have grotted as a part of the policy. Is that how do we reach that 2% level by doubling the private sector contribution in the GERD? They need tax incentivization. They need a lot of tax holidaying. They need tax incentive and in these specific domains. One area which I had talked in the beginning and I mentioned that which is required is the remodeling of patent law. Now, this is an important area which I want to just mention here. India has been, in fact, positioning its in the WII, that is in terms of innovation index. India has a very poor, in fact, performance, like as I said, 81st position in 2014. But this government has brought a new patent box regime in 2016, and that patent is to enable certain privileges to the patentees. But this there is still a very big problem that India faces. See, nearly 70% of the patent that are being filed by Indian, 70% of them are by non-resident Indians. Whereas in China, 90% of the patents are filed by the Chinese resident. Now, this needs a lot of changes in it. So we are proposing as a part of the remodeling of the patent box regime that, we must bring two major changes into this. One major change is that the income from the sale of product manufactured on the patented technology must be, awarded, must be given benefit, and that's called notional royalty. Second is saying that this is another area which I think some of you may be knowing. It's called the infringement damages. Suppose a product is patent was created, that product comes to market, and if that product, another company makes similar product, the patent is not transferred, but there is infringement damages that get into this. So if the patentee get the infringement damages claim, that it is very, so these are the some changes that are being proposed as a part of this. Also, as I said, the financing part need to be streamlined and to be rationalized. Right now, the policy the government has does not encourage the MSMEs and industry to come forward and invest into the R&D. I think I will not go into the much detail because this I think it is there is we I really taken a lot of time. So STI Development Bank is another idea for the strategic area to create a corpus for R&D in partnership with the industry. And industry has been emphasizing on relaxing the GFR rules for which have become handicapped sometimes for the taking the major things forward. I think I will now quickly move. I think I have already taken so much of time. The joint appointment system between government, industry, and academia is another important area, and also the connecting research to the line ministry. This I have already mentioned. I think I can skip this. This also I have mentioned in a way that we need to reduce the burden on the researcher by having facilitating governance through a very digital platform and all this. Some of them already done, but they need a lot of work. I think ease of doing research is a big area, and India is already working on this area, but I think we need much more than this. In the innovation entrepreneurs, I think policy has so many elements. I'm going to present only a few. That integrating traditional knowledge and grassroots innovation into the overall education, research, and innovation system of the country is a very important area. And we would like innovation to start right from the beginning of the education. And innovation and traditional knowledge need to be connected to the formal R&D system in the country. And that's why this is a very important. And grassroots innovators have a big issue. They are right now they are not being supported in a formal way by the government. We like to support them for registration, claiming the IPR, filing the patent, and all. That are things. I think this just before the start of this thing, we had discussion on this thing. How do we promote the grassroots innovation to go to the formal level of patent, claiming the patent and filing the patent? One good idea that is coming up is that on the incubator side, I think we need a virtual incubator. We although we have 41,000 in startup in the country, but we need at least double of them in next 5-6 years. To do that, we need to go for virtual incubation, virtual startup, which is theme-based and distributed. This I have already given some idea that we are focusing on technology indigenization and the indigenous technology development going forward with the formal R&D system. And also sustainable technology is the deployment along with these two. Strategic R&D is actually taking a big change now. These formal, these strategic departments like ISRO, DAE and DRDO have been mostly having the in-house R&D or intramural R&D system, and the development was mostly in-house. Now they are opening up opportunity for industry to partner with them. This will need a big change, in terms of the facilitation. Also, the idea of creating a spin-off technology startup for civilian use right from the time when these strategic technologies are developed and delivered. These already, in fact, some startups have come up in this area, but this is a big idea where we can take the strategic development to and connect with the startup system. Equity and inclusion is a very important area, and India, as I mentioned, that we have so many issues, and women need to be given importance. When 50% of the population must get at least 30% right, and therefore this is a big idea that we are bringing, that we must have enhanced representation of women in science, and also promote talented women to take leadership position. In India, in fact, this is a big issue. Not a single IIT in the country led by any woman so far. I think not that women are not engineers, but I think it's an opportunity issue. It's not may not be a cultural issue, but it's an opportunity issue. But I think we need to facilitate that, and therefore the policy is very, very important. LGBTQ issue also we have brought as a part of the policy, and also the disabled individuals, also must be given proper uh, representation through structural and cultural changes. Ageism related issue is a very important issue. I don't have time to explain, but let me tell you just one issue, that a large number of women, when they enter into the career, they need to take a break in the career because of their social issues, partly because, say, now these days, the joint family system is not there, so the couple has to take care of the child, and therefore, in that case, they have a career break. When they come back, they lose their experience, and they also have opportunities denied. We would this we are idea we are bringing, that their academic age should be considered rather than biological age. And this is an idea that we are seeing here. Also, a dual recruitment policy need to be adopted now. Some institutions in India do not encourage or do not permit husband and wife go to be in the same department. I think it's very unfair to the women, because they had to sacrifice for their husband, because if the husband is getting the job, women normally say, okay, you take the job, I'll sit at home, which is very, very big loss to the country. And therefore, this is important. They need to have an institutional mechanism for ensuring diversity, balance, equity, and inclusion in the STI system. Science communication is another area where we need mainstreaming, creating new platform, developing, the science communication wings in every institution. I think so much media center need to be established at regional and regional and national level, and so on. So there are a large number of things. Now I come to the diaspora engagement that we are proposing as a part of this policy. I think there is need to have a clear balance between the attracting the best talent back home, which is called grain gain, and creating and facilitating channel for them, for these diaspora to contribute to the national development from where they are, which is called a grain circulation. We need to have focus on the fellowship and internship scheme, enhance that opportunity, Here I want to mention that there is a very interesting analysis that I have done myself, that PhDs in India are actually, if you look at the status, we have 1:2 ratio of faculty versus PhD student in the country, in most of the top institutions. Somewhere it is more. But when you look at the postdoc in the country, this number is very, very less. So you have only 1:0.2 or 0.3 number, which is if you go any international university, you find it's 1:1. So this is the postdoctoral student. There are only 1,000 fellowship available in the country, as against 25,000 PhDs they come out annually. Where is the opportunity for them? Where do they go? 75% of the PhD apply outside India for postdoctoral, because India only 1,000 postdoctoral fellowships are there. These, in order to bring back students and attract people to remain in India, is also a policy that need to be promoted. I am not going to elaborate, but that's a focus area. Also, creating the facilitating channel for non-returning diaspora to contribute is being developed as a part of this policy. And I will not elaborate, but this is a big step forward that we are planning. Also, we are going to have an exclusive Indian scientific diaspora portal. This portal is not a ritual and normal kind of portal. It's going to be very, very interactive and very, very useful, where the diaspora can pose questions and also get all the information that they need in terms of opportunity and how do they contribute to India in terms of their role in the Indian STI system. We would like to go for a proactive STI diplomacy strategy, where along with the S&T for diplomacy, we would like to pursue or promote the diplomacy for science and technology. Several international virtual centers, knowledge centers need to be created with partnership with the different countries. And also the number of counselors, S&T, we right now have only 4 counselors in the world: Germany, Russia, Japan, and US. I think we need to at least 3 or 4 times of that number to different countries, so that they represent India and bring back both bilateral benefit to India, but also they help connecting Indians sitting outside to India. India has very rich diaspora. We have more than 3 crore members of the diaspora in the world. Out of that, nearly 2 million are scientists. I think we need to connect them to the Indian STI ecosystem. STI governance we are going to create an inter-ministerial and interstate governance system connecting science end to end in the country, so that we not just science ministries do science, but I think the rest of the country also does. There is part of the national education policy, a national research foundation has been proposed. And this is still in the formative stage, how we are going to shape it up. But I think we need to create a governance system which should connect the larger ideas of National Research Foundation to facilitate and stipulate and coordinate R&D across the country and in different sectors. Also, we are going to promote the lateral recruitment system and also bringing capacity building authority idea. Last chapter is that we are going to also proposing an STI policy institute at the national level, which connects data, research, and advice system, not just at the central level, but also at the state level. Overall, this policy has a vision that India must position itself among the top 3 scientific superpower in next decade. We must bring science to benefit of the people. So therefore, the STI has to be people-centric. We must increase the full-time equivalent number of researchers in the country, gross domestic expenditure, and private sector contribution, make it double in the next 5 years. And we must will institution and individual to be worthy of receiving the highest level of recognition and award in the world. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry that it took a little longer period. I got totally involved into this presentation. I could have made it shorter. I'm very sorry for that.
Thank you very much, Doctor Akhilesh, for your presentation. I believe we got a view of how the whole process of policy making that happens in the background. That it's news for me today. So I think thank you very much. I believe the statistics that you showed were quite eye-opening for all of us on how India has progressed and how much we have to work towards to bettering our nation. And I believe this session was very interesting for all of us. I see lots of hands being raised. So before that, we have one more speaker. We have Jayanji, Jayan Sahasrabuddhe. He's the National Organizing Secretary for Vijnana Bharati. Jayanji, would you say a few words, please? Jayanji, are you there? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Jayanji.
Okay. So at the beginning, I should say that we are all thankful to Dr. Akhilesh Gupta for giving a great insight about the vision behind this great exercise of formulation of science, technology, and innovation policy for our country. He has done a great work under his able leadership. Department of Science and Technology has taken or has completed now a huge exercise of involving people in this formulation of great policy. And as he has rightly presented, various salient features of new policy, upcoming policy, and as we are in the phase where government of India has put this entire draft in public domain so that people in general can push or forward their suggestions about this entire draft, which has been prepared by Department of Science and Technology. So it's our duty to give suggestions because government is interested in seeking suggestions from different strata of society who are engaged with science, technology, and innovation. So this session has given us an opportunity to look into the salient features of this policy. And now it is our turn to say something about this policy. And yesterday only I came to know that the earlier information was that till 25th of January, there was a time for all of us to give some suggestions. But now, I think Akhileshi may correct me, but it has been extended till 31st of January, so that we have enough time in our hands to suggest things about this policy. We do have good experience in the field of science, technology, as well as innovation. We know that where we should move now in future, so that we can proudly say that ours is a developed country. So with these words, I will just extend thanks again to Dr. Akhileshi, and I would request all of you and all others who could not join this meeting, but we who are here in this meeting can give this idea about this entire policy exercise to our friends in the field of science and technology and innovation, so that they also will be able to give some good ideas about the formulation of this entire policy. So it's my sincere request to all of you that after this comprehensive presentation of Dr. Akhileshi, now it is our turn to give some suggestions, give some good inputs, give some good insights, so that this policy will come out in a great way, and we will march towards a prideful future for our country in coming decade. So thanks a lot to all of you.
Thank you, Janji, for those inspiring words as always. Uh, Next, we move on to the Q&A round. So for the Q&A round, very simple rules. Please raise your hand, and we would send the request to unmute. We request all of you to keep your video on so that Dr. Akhilesh can know who he's responding to, and be able to answer those questions. So again, time is a constraint, all of us. It's so we will try to take as many questions as possible, if not everything. All right, so to start off with, we have we have three raised hands. So Lakshmaya Sri Rama, sir, I've asked you to unmute, please. Can you? Yes, sir. Please go ahead with the question.
Good morning. This is Professor Lakshmaya Srirama. I'm a
Good morning.
professor at Qatar University here in Qatar. I come from southern India. I left India quite a long time ago. I read the whole policy, Dr. Gupta, you have put together. It's a fantastic policy. I congratulate you, and I really thank you for doing this. One interesting thing, and actually two comments are, the open science policy you're trying to create is a fantastic one. I hope that will also allow the researchers in India able to publish in open science journals that require a processing fee that needs to be paid, to consider that into your open science policy. One of the reasons that I see the quality of research in India is at the lowest level, even though we publish approximately about 150,000 papers as of 2020 statistics, and only about, I would say, 1/5 of it is really of very high standards. And the reason I see is because even though the science is there, they cannot publish in high quality journals because those journals charge them quite a lot. Even these days, even Elsevier charges $3,000 to $5,000 depending on the impact factor to be able to publish that research. The second point that you brought up is about the availability of postdoctoral fellowships. This is a fantastic idea. 25,000 PhDs, only 1,000 postdoctoral fellowships. That really doesn't match at all to retain them. And so they go abroad. And a good example is myself, that left with a PhD from a very high quality place and went and made a career outside. I have no regrets for doing that, but it is a reality. That is a fantastic idea that you're bringing up. And having said that, these 25,000 PhDs that are coming out are all not of the same quality. That needs to be looked into by developing certain standards of who will be awarded and what skills they need to meet to get those PhDs. And last point that I want to make is at the level of the central government, the CSIR institutions, the IITs, the central universities, there is a fantastic cooperation and standards maintained. At the state level, they really, really are lacking. So hopefully this policy, I think you've made some points that will interconnect these state institutions also to bring them up to the standards. And thank you for the opportunity and congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lakshmiya. So these are the very important points. I think you raise very pertinent issues. Let me talk one by one all these things. So we had, in fact, the thematic group discussion that we had extensively deliberated on the AQCs. So the AQCs have some real issues. Let me tell you what are the issues. Why there was no convergence on AQC introduction in the policy. The sub-Christian issue is an institutional issue where normally the sub-Christians are being done through the institutional mechanism. AQC issue, on the other hand, is individual issue. You cannot institutionalize this AQC because it depends on the individual where and how that he or she publishes in the international journal. So there was no convergence on this issue in the committee. Second problem was that if you look at the total expenditure on AQC, right now, this is a rough estimate. I'm just telling you rough estimate. Country as a whole, put together all researchers, the AQC that are paid by individual authors comes to nearly 1,000 crore. Now this AQC 1,000 crore, this is again an estimate. If it is institutionalized and government pays AQCs, will go several times higher because some people who are not right now submitting papers for the paid journals, they will start submitting. So as for the estimate, this is going to be going in a very, very large amount. Government cannot pay, and then there is another angle to this, and that angle I am not here to tell you entirely, but just give you a hint. You know that India has, as I said, 1,000 universities. 1/3 of these universities are private universities, and therefore, see, government cannot bring a policy which should be discriminatory against private and government and all. So it has to have a national policy across everybody. So I think you got the hint. So we had no consensus on AQC, but we had deliberated at length on AQC. Second issue, that PDF process, this is very important. So you are very right that the quality of PhDs, almost 50% of the PhDs are not very high quality PhDs, 50%. That is a good number. And you know how it is happening? Again, the same reason that 1,000 universities, some of them are even fake universities, giving PhD on the calculator without doing the thorough research work and the assessment done by the reviewers. We have issue on that. Well, let's take 50% are good. So 25,000 PhD, 50%, say let's take 10,000 PhDs are good. If you give, and again the same I'll give, which mentioned that 75% people who do PhD apply outside of India, but you know how much get? Only 20% get. So remaining all remain in India. I am saying those potential people who could have got postdoc outside India but could not get because of various reasons, including reason for the financial reason, they could be given opportunity in India so that they get, so benefit comes to India. So at the end of the day, it is India who is benefited. So I think your last point you mentioned, absolutely right. Since I was Secretary University Grant Commission, I know the grant given to the central universities are very different from grant given to the state universities. And the status of the state universities are bad because it depends on the state government. The state governments have least concern for universities, and they only get into this thing. So I'm totally with you, saying that the level of some of the state universities is very good. In fact, I'll give you one example. Punjab University is a state university, but it's a unique university in the country where the grant is given by central government. It's a traditionalism, but some of these state universities are really, in a pathetic situation. So the National Research Foundation that being set up is actually meant for supporting research in these state universities. It's focusing on there. And that is why I'm saying that this the central government is now charged of for implementing research agenda to state government. So a big vision through NRF has been created to take the national research ecosystem getting integrated with the state level ecosystem.
Thank you, Doctor, for answering that question. Thank you, Professor, for inciting the thought. I'm going to go next to Mr. Deepesh Ji. Deepesh Ji has come in. Deepesh Ji, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Akhilesh ji, for your wonderful presentation on the new draft policy for science, technology, and innovation. My question is, like, I have 3-4 questions. The one is fundamental, like, how can you define what is?
Sorry to interrupt. I mean, in interest of time, can you summarize it to one question, please? Because we have a couple of hands raised, so I would request.
Can you please define in terms of what is science in the policy itself? Because in India, like, there are a lot of sciences which is not considered as science by different streams of institutions. Like even in IISF event itself, there are in few sessions there some of the panelists were telling that even management itself is not considered as science. Science, but thing is that when it is coming to innovation, it is not only about scientific innovation in terms of pure science. There is like business model innovation, business process innovation, marketing innovation. This all have to be bring as innovations in from a policy perspective itself. And from institutional perspective, in the policy itself, it is telling that most of the Indian institutions is designed as a charitable society or a Societies Act of 1870s. And unfortunately, if it is an institution is defined constitutionally defined as a society, how it can be go outside India without even having a proper constitutional framework? Like either it shall be based on a Companies Act, or it shall be constituted through a Parliament Act. But unless it is not changed, like I had experience in working with National Productivity Council of India when I tried to bring their services to UAE. But unfortunately, this organization, National Productivity Council, cannot come out of India as a without the permission of government, because they themselves is a society. Like that kind of institutional mechanism is to be changed. The fundamental structure of the most of the research and research organization in India is Societies Act of 1870, which is much before even Government of India Act of 1935. How it shall be changed? I don't know how it is addressed through this policy framework.
Yeah, thank you. The first question you asked, a very fundamental question. What is science? So first of all, let's not, let's define just science, because if you consider science, see, normally we take science as the fundamental science or basic science. But I think what this policy is addressing science, if you look at the careful wording, which we have used, that we are talking about the entire chain of scientific and technological and innovation development. So we are not talking about science as just which is being taught at the basic level, but also science right from science to technology development to the translation to market. The entire chain is also considered as part of science. So science should not be seen in isolation as the science which is taught in the curricula as part of the basic fundamental science. So I think I am very, very clear that science cannot be in isolation with rest of the technology and innovation. It has to be. Of course, I don't want to contest on the issue like management can be considered and so on. Management, if it is part of innovation, or if it is part of technology development, I think can be considered as science. I don't want to get into those definition issue, but I think science should be considered in a more holistic and more integrated way rather than just taking it. Second issue, I think is more regulatory. I really don't know. I don't have answer to those questions. Maybe you can send me those questions or I can forward it to some right people. I'm not expert in this area.
Thank you, Doctor. Next, Dr. Anup. Dr. Anup, yes.
Hi, good morning all. Good morning, Dr. Akhilesh. It was a wonderful opportunity you have provided us in opening up what the science, the new policy is. I work in Saudi Arabia with a quasi-government organization, and I'm a doctorate in agriculture. What I had a couple of options, which whether I'm not very clear, that has been covered in the policy. One was like the innovation incubators. In the innovation incubators, generally, what I would suggest, suppose if I am having an idea and I don't have a fund to provide those things, it should be, I can go to the innovation incubator and register that idea, and then I get a research support. Or if I'm a venture capitalist, I want to get invest in India. So such a thing, is it covered in the policy where I can know which innovation is registered and where I can put an investment, or will I get a support in doing further research and support from the government of India, so that maybe my idea can be sold to the government or to be registered with the government, I get my due credit. Is there something worked out around in that policy?
Yeah, I think very interesting question, and I think let me give an answer. Yes, it is there in a policy in a big way. I'll tell you what we are planning, and this is already there in some form already. So as I mentioned in my presentation, that we are coming up with a virtual incubators model. So anybody sitting outside India also can work on this, can register for this kind of a virtual incubator model. This is there's going to be wait for March, and we are launching a national big program called Praha, that flow, Praha. This program is actually a distributed thematic virtual incubator model where the people from any part of the world can participate. You you just go to DST website, and there is a program called Nidhi. That Nidhi program actually is the right place where this uh, scheme is going to come up. So you will find that this kind of opportunities will be coming here. You can register. Of course, there is another site. You know that Atal Innovation mission is also there. You can go to that is on the Niti Aayog portal. There you go. There also you can register and you can see that. In case you don't find anything anywhere, please write to me. So my email is akhilesh.g@nic.in. You can straight away write to me. I will try to connect you to the concerned person.
Thank you very much, sir. Again, in the interest of time, we had one more question. I guess, okay, Mr. Bipin. Just hang on. And that would be the last question. So, Mr. Bipin, please unmute and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Good morning, everybody. Sir, thank you for your wonderful presentations. Just I want to know one thing. Now the fourth industrial revolution being taken place. So how does the policy contribute to the fourth industrial revolution, especially in the artificial intelligence and robotics?
So I think I said in the beginning of my presentation that these disruptive technology are going to occupy a space in the country, because entire world is getting flooded with this. And India cannot be just kind of silent spectator. So therefore, this industry 4.0 is going to take industry. In fact, this is going to be the big transformation change that's going to come in the industry. And many people have many, I would say, the suspicion or apprehension that industry 4.0 is going to disrupt the manpower position. But I will tell you the 4.0 is going to be an enabler rather than disruptor. Policy has given a focus on this area, how this enabling mechanism for AI, ML, and other and quantum technologies and all those things are going to enable India in taking the STI ecosystem to the next level. Now, you know there are two missions are already launched in India. One is the National Mission for Interdisciplinary Psychophysical System called NMICPS. This has already been launched last year. It is a 3,600 crore worth project. Another mission being launched shortly. You will just wait for another 2 months. This mission is being launched shortly. Everything is ready. Called the National Mission on Quantum Technology and Application. This mission is larger than the previous mission and focusing on the quantum technology area. our plan is that let the entire changeover that take place in the industry 4.0 be enabled through SNT intervention. Now, two important interventions in STI can bring. One is, of course, developing right kind of technology for enabling that, but more importantly, completing the entire innovation chain, because that is lacking. So what we have done is a new model has been devised for this implementation, where the entire mission, although funded by government, is being driven by industry. So it is an industry-led entire implementation, and the monitoring is industry-led. So I would like you to look at DST website. Both these DPRs, the detailed project report on these two missions are available on the website. You can look at it and see that the kind of changes that are going to take place, and also how the world can participate into this thing and get benefited. There's going to be a big transformational change that's going to come in next few years through this initiative.
Thank you, sir. So we've seen male-dominated questions, if I may say. For any last question, do we have any ladies in the group, scientists, who would be interested to for us to take the last question, or else I would have to give one last question away. So any ladies in the group who would like to ask Dr. Akhilesh any questions?
I said they didn't like my presentation. Silent, and I feel very sad. I am a biggest supporter and promoter of gender issue, but I find there are no questions. So either they didn't like my presentation, or they.
All right, Doctor, on your request, I think we have a volunteer, if I may say. Ma'am, just a second. I'm just trying to get my mouse in place because it's playing up on me. There you go. Please unmute yourself, Ma'am Neeru.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta and Science India Forum for such a beautiful and elaborate presentation on this policy. I think you have updated a lot on many things, which is going to open new ventures, for the research as well as for innovation. Because I'm from Dubai, BITS Pilani, Dubai. And yes, we tried so many times to link with, DST projects with our Indian campus. And always there had been an issue of the money coming over here. I think now with this policy in hand, and what you have mentioned about the diaspora, wherein we can also contribute back to, the research which is happening in India, I think this is really a nice opening. And I hope we will be able to, contribute in some, at some level. But at the same time, hope there will be the projects which will be opened, wherein we also will be able to, apply and, work on those collaborative projects that will be there in DST. Available not only for India, but for us sitting outside, India over here. I hope my understanding is in that line. Hope it is going to fulfill that aspect. It's just, a kind of, comment rather than I can say it's not a question. I just wanted to put a remark for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Again, considering time and lots of still questions pending, but still we're going to move to the closing part of the overall program. May I invite Sri Jayakrishnan Ji, General Secretary, Science India Forum, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, to put in the closing remarks and the vote of thanks, please.
Am I audible, Sajid Ji?
Yes, sir.
A very fine good morning to all from the GCC countries. Good afternoon to all from India. Namaste. Respected Dr. Akhilesh Gupta, Advisor and Head of STIP 2020, Secretariat, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Shri Jayanji Sahasrabuddhe, National Organizing Secretary of Vijnan Bharati. Respected school principals, dignitaries, academicians, industry experts, thought leaders, professionals, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I am Jay Krishnan, National General Secretary of SIF KSA. First and foremost, I would like to express our deep sense of gratitude to Dr. Akhilesh Gupta for his clear explanation and guidance about STIP 2020. Thank you very much, sir. We are indeed motivated by your great words. This will, of course, help us to contribute more and more to the field of science and technology for the betterment and progress of our home country. My sincere gratitude goes to Sri Jayanji Sahasrabuddhe, National Organizing Secretary of Vibhav, for his encouraging message to the audience. Thank you very much, sir. A special word of thanks to all the school principals, vice principals, science coordinators, educators, scientists and researchers from various schools and universities across the GCC countries for having taken their time out to be with us today. Thank you very much. My sincere gratitude goes to doctors, chartered accountants, engineers, technocrats, distinguished community leaders, prominent personalities and businessmen of Indian diaspora for having taken their time out to be with us today. Thank you all. Thank you very much. I would like to thank all the Indian embassy officials from various GCC countries. Thank you all. We are indeed happy and blessed by your presence and the continuous support we are getting from you. Last not but the least, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to SIF GCC Organizing Secretary and all SIF officials from UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman and Saudi Arabia for organizing this informative session on Science, Technology, Innovation Policy of 2020. Thank you one and all and have a very nice day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, we come to the conclusion of the program today. Thank you very much and have good afternoon. Namaste.
Thank you, and very nice,